The character I wrote about is named Yousef Sidani. He's from the Lebanon region of the former Ottoman Empire. As a young man, he was educated at Istanbul University and studied mathematics. He decided to come to the United States in the 1920s because the Ottoman economy was struggling after the end of World War I and was hoping to find opportunity elsewhere. In any of the journals that didn't involve big picture events like the stock market crash or the German invasion of Poland, I just described his average daily lifestyle and how the times changed it. I made sure to develop his character so that over the years he would become more and more Americanized as well. The journal used for the project was from the day the stock market crashed. I woke up this morning to lots of commotion on the streets outside my apartment. Apparently one of the banks down the block from me had just closed entirely. I threw some clothes on and ran downstairs to see if I could find any more information on the events. There were about 50 people crowded around the staircase of the bank, and a man yelling to them from the front. I understood only phrases while making my way to the steps, but I could clearly make out the words, hold them accountable, and get our money back. When I got to the bank, I was given a chance to speak to the man standing in the front. He was wearing a very nice suit, much nicer than I could afford. I told the man I had woken up to the shouts of the people, and politely asked him what on earth was going on. He replied to me through gritted teeth. They have taken our savings, they have invested our savings, and now they have lost our savings. Without warning, without apology, all of our money is gone. Our education plans have disappeared along with our emergency backups. Somebody must pay for this disaster. I told him thanks, and he sort of grumbled at me, so I went on my way. I was up much earlier than usual for work, so I decided to stop in at my favorite breakfast place. I turned the familiar corner and peered from a distance through the window. I thought, that's peculiar. They're closed too. Began making connections about what should bring such strange consequences, but I wouldn't actually learn until later on. I turned to walk away when the owner popped his head out from the door. The owner and I had become close as much as I hate to admit it, a regular customer. He told me to come in and grab some food. I gladly accepted the offer, but I realized that I was the only other person there. I asked him why he'd closed up shop today, and he replied, there's a problem with my funding at the bank. I suspected the same thing may have happened to him that happened to the angry people on the street. I thanked him for the food and apologized for the situation and left. I went straight to Paul's apartment, half hoping he would give me answers, half hoping he was working at the bank. I knocked on the door, and he stood there as if he was waiting for me. He let me in and put on a kettle for the two of us and answered every question I had. He told me that the banks were out of money because they invested all their money and the people's savings into investments that should not have failed. He told me that it was a shock to everybody, but all of the shares seemed to simultaneously lose all value. He told me the same happened to me, and he didn't know if there's anything that he could do to help. I wasn't shocked to find out that the factory was closed today, but I was relieved to find out that I'd be going back to work by Friday. After reading the journal, I realized there was some information left out of the introduction. Yousef moved out of the Ottoman Empire and into Detroit. Because of his education in mathematics, he was able to get a decent paying job at the Ford Highland Park plant as an accountant. Months after he moved to the States, he met a man on the street with whom he shared a conversation and quickly became friends. This man was Paul. He was a banker.